Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Golden Goal Fantasy Football Podcast. Hope you all had a good international break and your blank game week wasn't too cruel to you. I'm Tom, and as always, I'm joined by Sam. How you doing, mate?
Yeah, good. Thanks, mate. Glad to be back. Quite refreshed, actually, after the international break switch off from FanTeam. I logged in earlier and saw that I had two free transfers and quite a nice little rank. So it gave me a little bit of a um, dopamine hit, ready to push on for the rest of the season and see what rank I can get, mate. So yeah, looking forward to it.
Lovely job. I'm happy to start with my team. Unfortunately,
Yeah, go for it, Tom.
I couldn't work out how to get it to show the points that I got in the last fixtures, so you'll have to bear with me while I try and remember who played. But I've got Jose Sarr in goal. Obviously, he played in the blank game week, but completely blanked himself. Feel like I was a bit robbed really with Wolves players in the blank game week, but yeah, what can you do? I Trent, Rudiger and Cancelo. None of them obviously played. And my only playing defender of the week was Doherty. And then my midfield was Son. Well, my playing midfield was Son, Saka, Martinelli and Coutinho. Then I had Harry Kane up front. I think, what was that, 7 players playing. And I just kept rank. And to be honest, I was quite happy with that. Given that the quality of fixtures in that blank game week, I don't think it was worth taking hits to completely load up on 11 players. I saw, in fact, just because I have a nosy, just to see how the players like right at the top of the leaderboard are doing. And I think most of them brought in enough players to field like a full starting 11. And I guess unless they're planning to wildcard in game week 31. But they didn't do too much better than me with 7 players. So yeah, my one transfer of the week, I'm quite annoyed at this really. But again, it's another one of those of what can you do? I brought in Martinelli and he didn't even play. So what can you do?
I know, mate. Yeah, I feel your pain.
Yeah, I'm ranked 2.5k in this full season game at the moment. I've got a free transfer to use. And when we get to the fixtures, I'll probably have a bit of discussion about what I use it on. But I'm a bit torn, to be honest, as to who I bring in with my one transfer. I might even roll it yet, but yeah, we could talk about that. But that's my team.
Yeah, mate, nice. Yeah, like you said, like successful week really for you and for both of us in the sense that we stuck to the guns and didn't want to jump in and get 11 players because then moving forward, I just don't think it's worth it. You got my team up, have you?
Yeah, mate. Yeah, 5-4-1.
The
The team. Yeah.
What's that?
Is it in
Yeah,
5-4-1?
that's
Yeah,
it.
nice one.
Yeah. So same as you with Saar. Obviously, I had double Liverpool at the back and Rudiger. None of them played. So my only two playing defenders were Doherty and Tierney. See, Tierney got me a clean versus Villa, I think, and then Doherty blanked. But yeah, no biggie, cheap. I've got you to thank here, Tom. Really on Son because I was sort of like think loitering to maybe move him on last week or the week before or something, and you said, look, Sonny's proven Premier League world class sort of player, and he's worth leaving towards the end of the season. I thought, wow, he's not really a fire I need to put out. And gets me a lovely sort of 12.3 return. And actually thinking just I may as well leave him at least now for the foreseeable. Martinelli, the same. I was a bit peeved really on the Saturday for a number of reasons. But yeah, when I seen Martinelli's out of illness, I'm thinking, you know, bigged him up all last get one on FanTeam. He's been in great form, looking really good, and then he misses out. So yeah, same with Rafinha. So I saw this is why I was annoyed really because I saw the Rafinha mutterings around 3-4 o'clock, and you just don't know on Twitter what to believe, do you? And I sort of and ahed about taking him out for Saka, who got a golden knee for you. So yeah, and ahed about bringing Saka in for Rafinha. Sort of thought I'll go and walk the dogs, take the dogs out, and then maybe look at it when I come back. And then remembered on the walk, having left my phone at home, that the deadline's like same as FPL and 90 minutes or whatever it is before kickoff. So I was like, I got back in 2 minutes. I got back in 2 minutes after the deadline, unfortunately. So I was stuck with Rafinha to see then he didn't play on the Friday. So yeah, that was a bit annoying. So then only had Coutinho in that midfield then out those 3 the next day. He didn't do anything really. And then, yeah, Captain Harry Kane kind of came up trumps really with a 25.4. So I think I actually had, what did I have? One, two, three, four, one, two, three, four, six players. Um, really should have had eight, but a bit of lack of fortune there. I held ranked on and I got two free transfers moving into the next game week. So actually, on reflection, after the international break, quite happy with that. Two frees can really set me up now.
Yeah, I was going to
So
ask I can't see your bench there, but you got any thoughts on what you're going to spend? Well, I guess you want to spend at least one of those transfers. Any thoughts on what you're going to do?
Nick Pope, the obvious, do you think?
Yeah, I think it's between him and Ramsdale. Although Ramsdale, obviously, there's a risk that he doesn't play. So yeah, I do like Nick Pope. And I know who's he got in the first week. It's Man City and
Everton
Everton,
and
isn't
City.
it?
Then he's got Norwich in 32, and then he's got
He's got a double.
Southampton and West Ham in 34, 33. So you're actually getting five fixtures. One, two, three, four, five. Like in the next 3 game weeks. And who have we got at the moment? We've got Sarr, haven't we?
Yeah,
Who have got, mate, they've got a blank in 33 by the looks of it. I think that's right.
I think so. We'll have a quick look at the fixtures in a second, but yeah.
So five v2, mate. So that says it all, even if there is a City in there.
Yeah, you're right
I
about the
also
Wolves
want to
blank
bring
in
back,
33, yeah.
yeah, I also want to bring back Cancelo as well. So it's just like what to do, really. My bench is Foster. Well, yeah, my bench is Foster, Dennis, Veghorst, and it would be Doherty. I know that he played, but normally he'd be on my bench.
It's pretty nice
Um,
having Vegas on that bench still, because I think, yeah, in either of those weeks they double, you could well pick him and it'd be a nice differential.
yeah, I mean that could happen. I sort of think I've got a couple of moves. You are probably right. It's just his expected goals are like next to
It's not
nothing,
great, is
and
it, to be fair?
nah, he's not lighting any fires for me. So, um, I sort of want to get Cancelo back in. I want to get Saka in, and I want to get probably Nick Pope in. So I might sort of see if I can sort of bundle together a little bit of Sarr out, um, Coutinho out potentially, with the blank coming up in 33 for them as well, and Wolves and Tottenham in between that. And then maybe Doherty out for Cancelo or something like that. If I can do that, I can't remember my exact money over the next couple of weeks, but there's a couple of options there. I mean, I can make that move for a -4 because I've got the two frees, so that would set me up really nicely then, moving forward.
Yeah, nice one. I'll quickly flash up my second chance team. I know you've sort of died on that one, so I'll just go through mine quickly. Yeah, for some reason I couldn't get FanTeam to bring up my score, so like I said, I'm going to have to try and remember how my players did. I had a few more playing in this game than I did in the full season game, purely because I played my wild card a couple of weeks ago. So I won't go through the players again. That I won't talk in detail about the players that I've already got in my full season team, but I've got Sarr in goal, Doherty, Seiss, disappointed with Wolves, Tierney, kept clean sheet, Heung-min Son, Martinelli, Ramsey and Coutinho, and then Kane up top. The beauty of this game, I think I once again spent my free transfer on bringing Martinelli in. And whilst, he didn't play, but that didn't matter because it's the second chance game, so you get the auto sub. And I think I ended up with Thomas Partey, who ended up with about 3 or 4 points. So yeah, can't complain too much. And then Ramsey and Coutinho. It's going to be difficult to keep both of those for the blank in 33. Ramsey, especially, just because of the value that he brings, it's going to be a real tough one to decide whether to keep him for that blank or not. And I think my next transfer, I've got Coutinho. I think it almost makes complete sense to get Coutinho out for Saka at this stage. I think Saka's looking like a really, really clever pick for going forwards, and he doubles as well. So I think, Coutinho for Saka's my standout move. I mean, I can just hold Trent, even though he's injured, because someone else will come in for him. So,
Yeah, absolutely, mate. I think I'll going into the season long one. I think I'll probably hold Trent as well. Expecting probably to miss Watford and then play Doherty instead or something like that. If Doherty's in, or if Cancelo's back in, then have Cancelo, and then I've got a good back line there anyway. So yeah, that makes sense for for your plan on your team, I think.
Well, that was it for our teams then. I think since the last one of these we did, we've had quite a lot of new fixtures. And game week 33 has certainly become a double game week, and we're also looking at a potential double game week 36 and 37 as well. I just thought it'd be worth going through some of those double days and trying to pick out some players that are worth a shot. I think for me immediately, you've already discussed him, but I think Nick Pope is a really, really good shout. And I think in FanTeam, especially with the way that the keeper's saves bonus works, even in that Man City game, you'd expect Burnley to lose probably by at least 3 goals. But I don't think Nick Pope will blank in that game. I still think he'll pick up, he's got potential to pick up nearly probably 9 or 10 saves in that game. And he can still come out with a pretty decent score. So, yeah, I really don't hate Nick Pope at all.
Yeah, and they've got a nice run to the end of the season, Tom. I know that they're not like a Man City or a Liverpool or whatever, but they've got Everton, City. Obviously, it's a tough game. Norwich, Southampton, Watford, Wolves, West Ham. Sorry, I got West Ham and Watford the wrong way around. Villa, Tottenham, Newcastle. I just don't see that. I just see him as, I said this in the Sky one earlier, just see him as a pick and leave for the rest of the season.
Yeah, I can't remember how much he is, but I know in both FPL and FanTeam he is quite expensive, but I still think he's valued. Like you were saying, he's valued just to hold for the end of the season. And we said this on our Sky pod, but if you're picking a player till the end of the season, they need to have something to play for until the end of the season. And Burnley are fighting for their lives to stay in the league, and Pope will play, obviously he'll play every game he's fit for, and Burnley will have a real desire to try and keep as many clean sheets as they can. So, yeah, I really like that.
I really fancy a couple of dicey shithouse 1-0 wins in there, Tom. I really do. Like your Watfords and stuff like that. I can just, potentially see that. So I think he's a great pick to the end of the season. There's not much else from Burnley I fancy. No. The fact that I don't even fancy him for I don't even fancy Weghorst for the 5 games coming up over the 3 says it all, doesn't it? So Pope for me there.
I guess I'm just gonna. So Everton have obviously another double game week in 31. And ordinarily, if it was maybe the Everton of last season with Calvert-Lewin, you'd almost argue that West Ham and Burnley was quite a nice double. But I just wouldn't go anywhere near Everton at the moment.
No, I mean Anthony Gordon might be a little bit of a midfield shout if you've got a spare fifth spot and you want want a little bit of a punt.
And then just looking
really there's anyone else there, Tom, for me.
Nah, I don't think so. I was just going to go straight to 33 really. So we got doubles for Arsenal, Brighton, Burnley, Leicester, Man United, Newcastle, and Southampton. So yeah, I was just wondering if there were any players there that excite you. I was thinking immediately. I was thinking the Arsenal midfield boys and probably a defender. Because you think, maybe defence against Chelsea not ideal, but you'd think Saka and Martinelli, and it would be very good picks for Southampton and Chelsea in a double. And to be honest, I've been a bit negative towards Leicester, but the more I look at that Newcastle and Everton double game week, the more and more I want to buy a Leicester midfielder.
Yeah, I like Harvey Barnes and maybe Maddison for Leicester there.
Yeah.
It's just like you might avoid it this week for the United game, but then you've got Palace, Everton, Newcastle, Villa, Tottenham, Everton, Watford, Southampton to finish the season. It's a nice run. It's the old question of what they've got to play for, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
And we had that discussion on Sky, but you've got to play someone. You've got to play someone. Someone's got to be fielded out there. The professional footballers. I wouldn't be adverse to a Maddison or a Barnes, Tom.
And I still think, even though Maddison or Barnes may not start both of those games, I think they will feature in both of them at a minimum. So, yeah, I agree. I think they're good picks. I've certainly, even though they got a double, I've no love for United, really, purely because it contains Liverpool. And I think if you've got a Liverpool or a Man City in a double game week, it's almost just a single, really.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. except for Burnley, as we've talked
Yeah,
about. Or
yeah,
sorry,
yeah.
except for Nick Pope.
And then, quite interestingly, actually, Southampton with Arsenal and Burnley in a double. I don't think that's particularly too bad. I think rather than bringing someone in, I think it just gives me enough motivation to hold on to Broja. But that's all about all I'll comment on that, really. I don't think I would. No, I don't think I'd transfer in Ward-Prowse or Broja for that. But I think if I've already got them, I would hold them.
Yeah, yeah, makes sense, mate. Going back to and go back to your Arsenal point. I think like I really want triple Arsenal. I really wanted it from last week, but it's an absolute must for me at the moment to the end of the season now. It'll be Saka, Martinelli, Tierney. For me, that's the way it'll fall. I know we just literally talked about that, but yeah, I think that's a big one for me. I think also, Tom, it's all good looking at the doubles, but actually there's a couple of blankers here as well, isn't there?
Yeah.
With Villa, Wolves and Leeds blanking, and so that might then sort of dictate, like you've already started to talk about who comes out, Rafinha, Coutinho, Sarr, those sorts of players, and for me that's almost solidifying the death of Coutinho, Rafinha, and Sarr in my team. To be honest with you, as I sort of move towards this back end of the season.
Yeah, I think. Well, I can't quite remember what Saka's ownership is, but for people who have got Coutinho and don't own Saka, I think that's almost an obvious move, isn't it? Coutinho to Saka.
Yeah, that's what I'll be doing this week, I'd imagine. Or, yeah, I'm just going to see how it fits best for my team. It'll be him or Rafinha, to be honest with you. But I think they'll both be gone by 33. And actually, yeah, they haven't got great fixtures either. Any of those three towards the end of the season. Just as I said incidentally, they've actually all got quite tough games. So yeah, it seems like a really good opportunity to them to then bounce out of them and then into players with better fixtures that are in good form. Did you say,
And then
Tom? We've got a couple. Yeah, go on, mate.
I
Gonna
think I was
talk
about
about
to say what you were asking about. Yeah, we got
yeah.
doubles in 36 and 37. So it looks like Yeah, this is so sorry. I usually give this an introduction. This is the Ben Krelling fixture planner spreadsheet that's available on his Twitter account. Absolutely taking no credit for this, just using it for the purposes of pod and information. It's looking like in game week 36 there are going to be a high number of double game. It's going to be another double game week basically, where we see another double game week for Arsenal. There's going to be one, by the looks of it, for Villa, one for Chelsea, another one for Everton, one for Palace, another one for Leicester. There's a potential one for Man City, which is quite exciting, one for Liverpool, one for Tottenham, and one for Wolves. So yeah, lots of double game weeks there.
I think for me, it's like prioritising like maybe another Chelsea defender. Obviously, Liverpool are high on people's lists anyway. So are City. Maybe that then rationales, Tom, a Leicester asset or two. If you look at the Wolves' potential games, they look quite tricky. So it's like eliminating whose games are going to be tricky versus the quality assets and teams there. For me, that just points towards some of the big guns. Oh, apologies, the dogs are obviously clearly wrestling each other in the background. If anyone can hear that.
Yeah, and I won't go into 37 in too much detail because I think due to the fact that quite a lot of these games have got a double question mark next to them, so I think it's even less likely that these will double. But it's looking like Chelsea have another double game week in 37 and Leicester do as well. And the Leicester double game week in 37 is Watford and Norwich. So it's looking like a pretty, like, bringing in a Leicester player is looking like a really, really shrewd pick at the moment.
I think if that was going to happen, what was predicted there, I'd want probably maybe two.
You'd want Maddison and Barnes, wouldn't you, really?
Madison, Barnes, and see, got to keep an eye on what happens on that front line. Maybe one of the forwards. I mean, in the second chance, you'd probably have triple up, wouldn't you?
Yes, good point. I could just pick Vardy and then take whoever plays.
Whoever plays, yeah. And then Chelsea, Tom, you're looking at there. I mean, double up at the back.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah. You could even pick their keeper, to be honest, because Burnley stopped their doubles after 33. You could move to Mendy for the couple of doubles. I think Rudiger and James would be the two I'd pick. Maybe Thiago Silva as well, because he seems pretty as nailed as
I,
Reece James does.
I also like Havertz and Christian Pulisic.
Yeah, you've done really well out of Havertz, to be fair. So I can't argue with him.
Yeah, I'd be again. I'll keep an eye on it, but I would be inclined to bring one of those two back in. I think Pulisic is a great shout. I think he's looked really, really good recently, going under the radar a little bit. He's just injury prone, man, isn't he? He's just like hammy again. So yeah, again, well, if we get some confirmation on this, we can start actually working towards maybe a double to triple up on a couple of those teams. And again, I've said this all along on our pod, Tom, in the last few weeks that I want to be quite aggressive where I can be to try and get my rank up. So if it means a few hits and things like that, then I'll do it. So I'm a social experiment on the channel potentially towards the end of the season.
I think it'll work out quite nicely for you, to be honest, especially with Leicester players. And the one comment I would have on Leicester as well, despite the minutes, they are pretty crap defensively, right? But they've got Evans and Fofana coming back, so that situation might improve. But throughout all this, I wouldn't say that Leicester have had a problem scoring goals and creating chances. I think every game that Leicester play, you'd almost fancy them to score a goal, unless it's against like the absolute top opposition. Even against them, they've got a chance to catch them on the counter. So yeah, I really do think, with 3 double game weeks in the next sort of five or 6 weeks, I think it's looking likely that I'm going to have a Leicester player, that's for sure.
Yeah, I think I'll strategize it where I'll miss the United game this week and then prioritize getting Saka back in and potentially the goalkeeper move and maybe Cancelo, and then from there onwards, Tom, maybe in 32 or definitely for 33, dependent on injuries and more fixture releases and stuff. Start to look to build that from there onwards. Madison's on my list. I think for me it'd be James Madison coming in.
I'm not quite sure how the pricing is in
return, isn't he?
but I think Madison's not significantly cheaper, but I think he's about $500,000 cheaper than Barnes. I think Barnes is over 7 and Madison's in the 6s, if I'm correct. I can't remember now. All right, should we move? Go for it.
No. That's everything, mate. That's cool. I think we've covered a little bit there of potentially what we can do moving forward.
So interestingly, after we've just gone through all those double game weeks, our good mate Luke asks us, is it time to ignore the majority of these double game week traps and bank some transfers without taking any hits? He seems to think that the double game weeks haven't paid off much lately.
He's right.
He's not wrong, is he?
No. Well, I think what we've done already is rationalise the ones that are worth going for. There's quite a few in that Ben Crellin predictions that I would avoid, and that's a couple of Wolves ones, and yeah, I would. And as you know, Tom, any double game week that comes around good teams is worth hitting. It's when we have these like moderate to poor teams that are doubling that is where sometimes we get caught out. You could definitely put Burnley into that. I just think 5 fixtures over SARS 2 in the next 3 game weeks for me is enough rationale and reason to bring in Nick Pope.
And I think with Burnley, Nick Pope's a bit of an exception as well, because the saves bonus he can pick up is such like a comfort blanket. Yeah, I think Nick Pope is an exception there, mate. I really do.
Whereas you wouldn't be bringing in Weghorst or Ben Mee or anything like that. You would just be Pope. Like, so there's certain assets from certain teams that normally wouldn't fit the bill for like what Luke's saying, but I think Nick Pope is an exception. I firmly believe on Leicester. I know that Luke's thinking on Leicester is they haven't got a whole heap to play for. He's absolutely right. But is the Europa Conference really anything to play for as well? Like, sort of Leicester fans going to buzz over sort of winning that? I don't know. I'd imagine they would want to win that and finish as high as possible in the season. And they're a good side, mate. They've underperformed this year. You've just said players coming back, haven't lacked goals. If there's a little bit of drive and intent with their players coming towards the end this run, I think there could be a couple of decent returns in some of the Leicester players there. City, Liverpool, Chelsea with their potential doubles, they're all solid rationale. City and Liverpool fighting for the league, they're going to be putting everything into it. You made a good point, I think, maybe on the Sky Pod about Chelsea. I mean, I don't know if you want to go back over that, Tom. I think you had some good points in regards to
Yeah, I
Chelsea.
mean, their league position's pretty much wrapped up, isn't it? So the Champions League is the competition probably of focus, and just looking at like the contract situations of the players. Christensen's agreed to move to Barcelona. Aspilicueta, I think, is going to do the same. Rudiger's out of contract at the end of the season, and I don't think he's going to re-sign. Even though I bigged up Rudiger for the double game week. Yeah, it's touch and go, I think, as to whether he's a Chelsea player next season. And surely, when you're touch and go to play for that team next season, it's gonna make you less likely to play games. I don't know. It's just my thoughts.
He rotated a lot last season, didn't he? And I know he's talked about fatigue from the Club World Cup and stuff. Um, then all this ownership malarkey going on as well. It's like I think he's held it together quite well so far with the team, but there's some doubts over all that sort of stuff. So as much as I want to love to jump on the Chelsea bandwagon, I will keep a firm eye on all those happenings as the weeks progress.
Yeah, definitely. FPL shenanigans. We already mentioned a few of these, to be fair. But he's just asked us, what are our opinions on Mahrez, KDB, Havertz, and Mount? Should we be getting them, or will we see mass rotation with Champions League and other cups? It's the age-old question, really, isn't it? It's the tombola and the roulette. And yeah, I think some of these players are primed to be rotated. Well, I'll say some of them. Probably Mahrez is the most likely to be rotated. But I think the likes of Havertz and Mount now for Chelsea, they're looking... Well, Mount has always been pretty nailed for Chelsea, hasn't he? He's genuinely probably their best player. And then with Havertz playing how he is as well, I'd almost say... I wouldn't say he's completely nailed, but he's a pretty safe starter now, isn't he?
Yeah, I like Havertz. I don't really like Mount. I think loads of his returns come against Norwich, and they're not. It's just inconsistent, isn't he? Who else do we just mention? It's completely slipped my mind.
That's all right. We got Mahrez, KDB, Havertz, and Mount are the four he mentioned.
So Pep Roulette hasn't really been a massive Pep Roulette this season, has it? He's been very consistent, and Mahrez is featured in a lot of the games. I think Mahrez is a really, really shrewd shout. I mean, second chance game, like just pick one of the more expensive or I don't know, KDB, and you're going to get anyone, aren't you? I think so. Having a Man City, I would say on the second chance game, have a Man City midfielder. On the season long, it's a bit more of a risk, isn't it? KDB's expensive. He's looking good. If you can afford him, I would love to have him, Tom, if I could get him into my team. I think Mahrez is a good pick. He's City's top goal scorer. Is that right? This season?
I couldn't tell you, to be honest, mate. I think but he's certainly been banging them in.
Mount I'd avoid. I like Havertz. I think Havertz is he's a very good player and he's been performing really well. So that's my thought process is there.
Yeah, sounds very, very sensible, mate. And he's asked a second question as well as our man Shenanigans. He says, what do we think about ditching Lacazette for Weghorst to strengthen the defence and midfield? I think.
Okay.
Go for it.
I just wouldn't do it.
No, I was going to say the same.
That was my instant reaction to it, Tom. Yeah, you jump in with your thought process, but I just shook my head straight away.
Yeah, I mean, well, looking at those fixtures, Arsenal have got... It depends, right? It depends how many Arsenal players you have currently, I suppose, because you could get rid of Lacazette and then bring in a defender, maybe. But for me, Arsenal have got 2 double game weeks in the next 5 or 6 weeks, and one out-and-out striker that could genuinely play in their squad in Lacazette at the moment. So, and Lacazette's not been doing too badly either. I mean, he's not been banging in the goals, but he's been really involved in link-up play, getting assists and the odd goal here and there. I really do think Lacazette is just worth holding. I think you should try and look for another player to sell.
Yeah, myself. I do. Yeah, I do. I think it's just we all know those transfers are precious. It could probably be best spent somewhere else, and we've spent a lot of the pod, Tom, and we sort of bigging up a triple Arsenal for the rest of the season. And yeah, if I had Lacazette up there, I think it makes sense. Wouldn't want Weghorst. He might get a goal or two, but I don't think you're going to get much change out of him, even in those doubles.
Yeah, I was just going to ask. I'm not an expert on Arsenal. Do you know who takes their penalties? Is it Lacazette now?
I think it is. Yeah.
Yeah. So there you go. There's another reason to keep him, then, isn't it? I think. And Ugly Wolf, final question, and thank you, Ugly Wolf. You're a regular watcher and question asker, so really appreciate all your inputs, mate. Thank you very much. He asked us, is it worth taking hits to get rid of the triple Wolves defence? I can have a go at that one. First of all, up until the blank, I don't think it's worth taking hits, but I certainly wouldn't be opposed to taking them out. And I think when it actually comes to the blank, and I think other teams double when Wolves blank, I think in those scenarios, it's absolutely obvious that taking a hit is worth it. If your player doesn't play and another player has a double game week, I would not be opposed to taking a hit for that one.
That's when I've used my hits this season. In the last few weeks around that exact scenario, Tom, and I've had quite a few sort of rank rises as a result. Admittedly, the decisions have gone well for me, and I completely respect and understand that on other weeks that wouldn't have happened. But I think that's the one time it's a real opportunity to make a bit of ground and be a bit aggressive with a hit, because you should be earning those points back just from starting, like the player starting the game, right? And if they get a return, then you're laughing.
I don't think I need to add any more to that, other than I guess if the guy's got triple Wolves defence, he's probably got Jose Sarr in. And Sarr would probably be the first one that I got rid of, purely because Pope's got the double. So if you do Sarr to Pope this week, that's probably the way I'd do it, to be honest, just like Sam is doing.
Yeah.
And that's it for the questions. Nice to be back. Hope everyone enjoyed that one. Anything else to add yourself, Sam, at all?
No, nothing to add. Just glad there's still a lot to play for towards the end of the season in the fantasy, and like all these late kind of fixture doubles and the league the way it is. I think it's really like last season was a bit different. I think it's awesome to see like it's going to be a competitive run in. And then you said a little bit of instability or a bit of chaos in there with sort of what fixtures are going to come when. I think that really makes it, we're going to have a really interesting final 7-8 games. Is that right? Or we've got a bit more, something like that. Well, depending for how, team dependent. So yeah, just looking forward to the rest of the season, mate. See how it unfolds.
Yeah, nice one. If you like what you saw and found it useful, give us a like and subscribe on YouTube. And follow us on Twitter at GoldenGoalFF, because I think we're going to try and make a weekly thing of doing a Twitter captaincy poll as well. Yeah. Although this week I'm sure it's quite obvious that most will be on Salah, I'd imagine. But yeah, hopefully it's going to be a useful feature. It's certainly useful for when we play Sky and there's a captain every game. It's just useful to see who seems to be the consensus pick. So yeah, keep your eyes peeled to our Twitter for that. That's about it. I'll leave it there. Thanks everyone.
Cheers guys. Thanks for listening.